Ask around Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they've saved the SEC's best spring game for last. It's the red and white game today here at Razorback Stadium on an absolutely picturesque afternoon in the natural state. The Hogs take the field, and we're glad to have you along with us here this afternoon. Mike Couzens and former Razorback quarterback Clint Stoerner. A look back to a season ago. It started off 1-3, 2 early losses against Toledo and Texas Tech, but the rest of the way was pretty good. 8-5 in a bowl win. Where are expectations for the 2016 Razorback team?
Well, expectations are growing just like every program in America after 3 years of consistent growth. This team has had a slow start over the last 2 seasons. They've got to overcome that. It's not always fair in this conference, the expectations that are put on your football team. The one thing that is fair is that you've got 15 practices in spring, and you've got to improve the product. You've got to improve the brand of your football team come fall. We'll see today if Arkansas has done that.
Every team, even the defending national champs, have their questions, and for the Razorbacks, we have 3. How will Austin Allen do filling his brother's shoes? Brandon is gone. Can the defense overcome some of the losses on the offensive side? Many of those, and then the offensive line, having to replace 3 starters, and 2 of those coming on the left side.
Austin Allen is a very capable quarterback. He can make all the throws. He's got great feet. He's got great poise in the pocket. I fully expect him to physically be able to play the position. It's yet to be seen whether he can do that on Saturday. He's got a little bit of a surfer boy swag to him, so that should help him take this football team over, take that huddle over, and be the leader that Coach Bielema needs this quarterback to be. This football team lost a lot of football players, quality football players last year. 6 of those guys not only went to the combine, the NFL combine, but they played inside the box right around the quarterback. They helped protect the quarterback. And at the end of the day, the execution of this offense depended largely on those X's you just see right there. The biggest hole left with that group leaving is the offensive line, particularly the left side of the offensive line. Big Dan Skipper's on the right side. He'll be able to set the tone for this football team. There's some youth up there. Can they fill the void of some pretty good players that left? We'll see today.
Casey Smith down on the field with head coach Brett Bielema.
My coach, after 14 practices, what do you want to get out of this spring game?
You know, first we want to stay healthy, but I want to see the growth that I've seen all year. Guys have kind of taken a day-to-day approach. Offensively, we've asked them to key on certain things. Defense, special teams are going to be minimal, but I just want to see improvement.
You named Austin Allen your starting quarterback. What can we expect to see from him today?
You know what? I think he's going to advance the chains, be efficient in the red zone, hopefully keep the ball in his hands. We don't want to turn it over, and just do what we ask a quarterback to do, and hopefully we'll see that out of the other guys as well.
Thanks, Coach. Have some fun today.
Thank you.
Guys.
Austin Allen, the junior from right here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, out of Fayetteville High School, 6'1", 208 pounds. He's replacing his brother Brandon, who made 34 straight starts. But it's not unfamiliar territory. It was 5 years ago. He replaced him at Fayetteville High School and took Fayetteville to 2 straight Class 7A state championships. Now hoping to step in here in a different situation with similar results.
Yeah, Mike, not only did he take the team to those state championships, but he was the MVP of those particular games. The kid knows how to play big in big-time moments. He knows how to step out of his brother's shadow and fill that void. He's been excited about this opportunity for a long time.
So on a rollout, he finds Jeremy Sprinkle. Forward progress to about the 35-yard line. And that'll be one of the big targets this year for Allen, who last year threw all of 3 passes, a career 9 for 19 mark as a passer.
You know, he'll have one advantage that his brother Brandon Allen did not have early in his career as a quarterback. He has a receiving core that is about 5 receivers deep that can absolutely play at the SEC level, and he's got one tight end in Jeremy Sprinkle that there is no question mark about whether he can be effective in the passing game.
Cody Hollister off the edge. Look at the rules for the spring game this afternoon. White team is your first team player, so you get the first team offense. That's the first look, and then the first team defense after that. The red team, a conglomeration of the rest of the depth chart for Coach Bielema. For the red team, since they're not the first teamers, they get double points. White team is a traditional scoring unit. And then in between the first and second and third and fourth quarters, it'll be a field goal shootout, 3 points each. traditional scoring on the field goals. Keon Hatcher makes the catch there along the outside.
Ones against the world. It's going to be fun to watch. It's always interesting with these spring games to see how coaches format the game. This ones against the world, there's a lot at stake here, a lot of bragging rights at stake here for this football team. A lot of misdirection early. Loosen up the defense, create some wider lanes inside there for that running game for those offensive linemen to get up to the second level just like that. When those lanes are that wide, it makes it easy on these young backs.
Raleigh Williams gets the carry, and he's a no-tackle guy. He's coming off of season-ending neck surgery last year against Auburn in Week 8.
That makes it easy to get off to a quick start when your running back's got on the green jersey. But I tell you, Mike, he's a special player. These coaches are extremely high on Raleigh Williams. Not only his football ability, but his off-the-field ability and his impact on this football team's culture and character is special. And he's going to be a good one in a Razorback uniform.
So it's not a 45-yard run for a touchdown for Williams. Instead, the ball at the 37-yard line. First look for Damon Duwop Mitchell, and he gets back to about the line of scrimmage. The sophomore out of Little Rock, brought down by Ryan Pulley. Mitchell, the guy they really like.
Duwop Mitchell is a guy that's been played 3 different positions since he got here. Came in as a quarterback, moved to receiver. Thought he was going to get a little playing time last year with the injuries and really the lack of depth at that position. He's such a great athlete. That you want to find a way to get him on the field. They've moved him to running back this year. I don't know what it feels like, but it must feel pretty good to be able to play 3 positions at this elite of a level.
To be that good of an athlete, to be able to pull it off. He was leading their scout team back in 2013 during his days as a quarterback. Nobody in the backfield. It's Jared Cornelius who makes the catch and turns forward just short of the first down marker.
You've seen two snaps here in a row from Austin Allen. I imagine that's going to happen
There's
a lot.
There's going to be a lot of people saying that in the first couple weeks.
But Austin Allen there from the gun. That's a position that he's extremely comfortable in. Did a lot of it in high school. I'm not real big on going back and talking high school football when you evaluate college quarterbacks, but there's no substitute for the number of times a guy has to drop back and make a decision behind the center or standing gun, catch a snap and make a decision. Those types of things are invaluable at this point in time in his career.
It's Williams again going toward the left side, and he is just short of that first down marker. Well, you've got a stable of running backs here trying to replace Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins, 2 guys who are prolific rushers and hoping to make a living in the NFL. One who we won't see today is Cody Walker, and Williams limited as well because of the aforementioned injury. So it's a chance for guys like Mitchell and Juwan Day and Denzel Evans to show what they've got as the afternoon goes on.
Well, Mike, you talk about it. Young guys that didn't think they were going to get a chance. They thought their time had come and gone. They were just going to get a degree and move forward in the business world. Now they have an opportunity to earn some playing time this spring and possibly in the fall. That's a big opportunity for some young players that didn't expect that to come about.
Mitchell dropped down by DeAndre Coley. So Jonathan Williams didn't even see the field last year because he went down after his ankle got rolled over in training camp. But you've also got the losses of Brandon Allen, as we mentioned, and Hunter Henry, who's got a guy right behind him, and Jeremy Sprinkle, who can step in pretty well.
Yeah, that's an impressive group. As we mentioned in the open, when you've got 6 guys that leave, all from the offensive side, all from inside the box, and they're all combine-type players, that's not just losing a few guys. That's losing some serious talent. So we'll see today how this football team and head coach Brett Bielema feels about filling those specific voids.
Misdirection, and the toss goes for Mitchell, who in his career has just 10 carries. You know, he came to Coach Bielema before the spring and said, where's the best opportunity for me? Is it going to be at running back, or is it going to be at safety, where they had to fill some gaps on defense? And this could be the land of opportunity for him. Now it's Williams in the backfield with Austin Allen, who's got time across the middle. That pass is tipped and incomplete.
That's going to be a play that the offensive coaches are going to go back and look at film. 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8. Watch the backers bail. They get out of there, get deep. That green jersey flashes underneath you. It's Jeremy Sprinkle. Crosses over the top of the back, was probably the option there. But at the end of the day, this was a force. This is something that Austin Allen has struggled with in the spring. If there's one knock on him as a quarterback, that's it. He's a little bit risky with the football, and he's got to learn to be better. That's something he's working extremely hard on, and Dan Enos will not accept anything but improvement there.
Cole Hedlund on the drive from 42. No good. Hedlund, the sophomore out of Argyle, Texas. By far, Bielema said, has been the #1 kicker in camp, but can't get 3 on the board to start.
SEC Network Spring Football is brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Razorfest getting the fans out here bright and early this afternoon at Razorback Stadium. Got to get your combine drills in. Some of us are not quite ready yet. But a great day. The fans are out in the stands, have red and white smattered everywhere. First try for the first team offense did not yield any points. So now the white team you see on the field is the first team defense as it stands today against a conglomeration of offensive players. This is Rafe Peavy rolling out in the flat and finding Cheyenne O'Grady, one of the redshirt freshmen at tight end, vying for what they hope can be another Jeremy Sprinkle like Hunter Henry and Jeremy Sprinkle were last year.
Another Fayetteville product right there. That's a tight end, formerly known as C.J. O'Grady. He's a player now. He can do some things special in the passing game. Not real sure about putting his hand in the dirt and blocking defensive ends and blocking down on defensive tackles. That's his weakness. That's where he's got to improve.
Going through the middle with Denzel Evans and a short pickup there against a solidified defensive line that after last year returns 9 of 11 starters, Clint.
Yeah, 9 of 11 backs, awfully impressive. This is a unit that's going to have to carry Arkansas early in the season if they're going to have success. And talking to Coach Brett Bielema, he likens this defense to the one of 2014 with Darius Philon, who's now with the Chargers, and Trey Flowers, who I believe is with the New England Patriots. But he says the supporting cast for his star players on defense is significantly better than that 2014 group. So we look for great things out of the defense this season.
Saw Dietrich Wise there at defensive end. And I'll go down as a sack back at the 20-yard line with Wise getting in there, getting a hat on the play. Last year, 8 sacks. He led the team. As a team, the Razorbacks last year only had 20. That's a number they want to get up and hope that he can be a big part of it.
Well, they're dependent on him. And I'll tell you, one thing about Dietrich Wise Jr. is he's coming to his own. He looks like an absolute freak down there. He's a guy that looks different than everybody else from a physical standpoint. His ceiling is extremely high. You mentioned 8 sacks last year. All 8 came against SEC opponents. There was no padding stats versus UT Martin. There was no padding stats in non-conference football games early in the season. It happened when it mattered, and that's got to be something that he ended the season on a positive note.
Blake Johnson, the redshirt freshman, with the punt back to Jared Cornelius. 42 yards, that first team defense looking pretty sharp. We've got a great softball doubleheader for you tonight on the SEC ESPN Network. First at 6 Eastern, number 11 Kentucky meets 4th-ranked Alabama at Rhodes Stadium. And then at 8 p.m., 2 freshman phenoms lead their teams as Ashley Diaz in Arkansas battle Haley Lunderman and Ole Miss. So it's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and on the ESPN app. 2 drives in, scoreless between the red and white here at the Arkansas spring game. New quarterback Austin Allen, and a new feature tight end this year is Jeremy Sprinkle.
Yeah, true tight end. We talked to Coach Dan Enos. They would like to see Jeremy Sprinkle be able to fill Hunter Henry's shoes, and then they have to replace that movement tight end, that H-back, so to speak, that Sprinkle was last year. So essentially, they've got to replace 2015 Sprinkle. They feel comfortable about 83 filling Hunter Henry's shoes as a tight end with his hand in the dirt. Dan Enos loves to play a 6-man surface, 7-man surface, which means you're 5 offensive linemen and a tight end attached in a 3-point stance, or 2 tight ends attached in a 3-point stance. He loved to do that last year, had a lot of success with it. They're looking for that guy to make that happen this year.
Raleigh Williams is quickly tied up, trying to find his way through the line. Jamichael Winston, the redshirt junior, grabs him. Talking to Dan Enos, the offensive coordinator, yesterday, he said about 55% of the snaps that they took last season were what they call 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends. But that going into 2016, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case if, let's say, a wide receiver plays better than a backup tight end does.
Well, Mike, here's why that's a beautiful thing is one, the flexibility that you have today, because you've got 5 deep wide receivers on this Razorback football team that can play, and you've got to find a way to get those guys on the field. But what I was impressed with is the fact that there's no egos involved. I'm not a 2 tight end guy or a power run guy or a spread guy. You know what? I'm going to hang my ego at the door. I'm going to come in and figure out what the best 11 players are and who they are and what they do well, and that's the style of football that we're going to play. That was awfully impressive from an offensive coordinator, former head coach.
No matter what, Sprinkle will be a big part of the equation. His 6 touchdown catches last year, twice as many as Henry, we should say, were the most in the SEC by a tight end.
He is a rangy tight end, a rangy target for a quarterback. A lot like Dietrich Wise Jr. on the defensive side of football. Sprinkle is an impressive human being in pads. He looks better than the majority of the guys down there, and he's an easy target for a quarterback to let the ball rip to.
I like that. It's not that he's an impressive football player. He's an impressive human being.
Yeah.
He's just a hulking mass of muscle and speed.
Well, the bad thing about that is the most important part is the kind of football player he is.
Right.
There's a lot of guys out there that look like Tarzan and play like Jane. He's a guy that they expect big things from him, taking the next step as Hunter Henry left this past season.
Here comes the punt from Toby Baker. You know, part of the guys that Jeremy Sprinkle is going to be lining up with, those offensive linemen, that's a big part of the game, too, what they're hoping to replace. Let's go down to Casey.
Well, Mike, offensive line coach Kurt Anderson down here telling his guys he wants to see them be more physical at the line of scrimmage and have better communication. One of the themes this spring has been to finish, and he's saying, guys, we're driving down the field, we're just not finishing. Obviously, this spring they're rebuilding this offensive line, and that coaching is continuing down here on the sidelines.
You know, she talks about Kurt Anderson right there. He's a guy that Coach Bielema hired. He was an assistant offensive line coach at the Buffalo Bills, but more importantly, he's a technician. I've seen some highlights. I've been to a few practices. There's nothing more entertaining to me as a former player when you get an offensive line coach that is passionate about the details. He's passionate about hand placement, the little bitty details of every step, and where your eyes are at as offensive linemen. A lot of times those things go unnoticed and uncoached, Mike. So it's refreshing to see a passionate coach like that in here coaching these big fellas up front.
And Dan Enos, who played quarterback at Michigan State, said he was a little apprehensive about hiring a Michigan man, where Anderson played his college ball, but as long as it works, they'll get along. Catch is made by LaMichael Petway. This is now the second drive for the red team, comprised of non-starters here at the end of spring practice against a defense that looked very sharp their first time out on the field.
You talked a little bit about Dietrich Wise Jr. here, coming off the end. He's not only a good pass rusher, he's a disciplined player. He's become a mature player. There's a couple of guys like that on this defense. Brooks Ellis is one of them in the middle. He's been around for a while now. He's been the anchor of that defense, so to speak, and his expectations have grown this season as well. They expect big things from him. Dre Greenlaw, a young freshman last year, received some accolades at the end of the year, but that was more so because he was young, not because the product on the field was necessarily great. Large strides this spring made by him thus far, 15 practices in.
Peavy getting pushed out of the pocket. That's a lot of pressure there coming from Taiwan Johnson and Dietrich Wise, and they get credit for the sack there.
Dietrich Wise does here what he does best. His longest arms on the football team. He extends his arms and gets the lineman away from him so that he can't reach him, reads the quarterback drifting away, and then he just turns on the afterburners and goes after him and forces either a bad throw or a throwaway or a sack or a run out of bounds for a loss. not a lot of good things can happen when Deatrich Wise Jr. is chasing Rafe Peavy.
He was at his best last year in the second half of the season in SEC play. 2.5 sacks against LSU, a pair against Mizzou. Stepping up under pressure and nowhere to go with it. Brooks Ellis was closing in on Juwan Day.
3rd and 15 is a situation that obviously your defense, has to be very successful at getting off the field in those types of situations. But again, you talk about Deatrich Wise and his ability to pin his ears back on 3rd and 15. He has that ability. One guy that we'll get into later, Paul Rhodes, is a big-time addition to this staff. And I've been able to watch him at practice a couple of times recently. And I tell you what, I don't know what head coaches, what they're made up of, what the great head coaches are made up of. But I know what a position coach is made up of. And he possesses every bit of it. He is an absolute coaching machine, and this secondary is going to be better because of it.
There's another great softball doubleheader tomorrow on the SEC ESPN network at 5 Eastern. Katy and Bailey in Mississippi State take on #1 Florida and their stellar pitching staff. And then at 7 Eastern, it's 17th ranked Texas A&M against #19 Missouri in Columbia. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN and on the ESPN app. Here in Fayetteville, Mike Cousins, former Razorback quarterback Clint Sterner, Casey Smith down on the sidelines. Glad to have you along on what has proven to be a very nice afternoon and the final spring game of the SEC schedule. Raleigh Williams coming back off that surgery, goes left side on that first try. There's Rob Smith, the defensive coordinator who had a long track record with Greg Schiano, working with him at Rutgers before coming to Arkansas.
Also spent some time in the NFL, which is obviously a good thing, because he goes from college to the NFL and says, you know what, I want to get back in that college game. I want to get back in the SEC and coach some ball at that level. So you get him committed back here. He's been a huge addition for this football staff.
On play action, big try down the middle, looking for Cody Hollister, and it's pass interference all the way.
Cody Hollister gets behind the defense on a deep post, and Austin Allen has the opportunity to show off his arm strength and his ability to get the ball up early with air.
Defense number
Looks
49.
like it was going to be a pretty accurate throw had the DB not grabbed the wide receiver. But that's Cody Hollister. Coach Brett Bielema rant and raved yesterday about him and the progress that he's made coming off of an injury last year. And this being his first time back on the field this spring, he's had a heck of a spring, probably the best spring of any wide receiver out there.
Last year, just 4 catches, 65 yards because of a broken foot. So Allen getting ready here, 1st and 10.
Chase.
It's a handoff going back to Hollister around the right side and bowling his way out of bounds. That's 1st down yardage. So we saw Austin Allen that last play trying to go down the middle of the field. What has he shown you so far through almost a quarter?
Well, he's throwing the ball confidently. He's made a couple of poor decisions, which I'm surprised to see it this early in the game. It doesn't surprise me that the body of work over 4 quarters, you're going to have a couple of risky decisions, because he's more of a Brett Favre than a Peyton Manning player. He's going to take risks. But to see him back-to-back earlier where the linebacker got his hands on the football and then he overthrew the dig route there on a critical down, the last 2 possessions, those you don't like to see. But you know what? There's a learning curve there, and we got to sit back and realize it's been a while since he's been in live action.
Casey, how about what have you seen from Austin?
Well, this coaching staff said that he really wanted to step up and use today to show that he's worthy of this starting role. And you guys are talking about those risks that he's taking. He's down here on the sidelines, and he's not treating today like a spring game. He's intense, he's focused, and he's talking to all the offensive coaches, wanting to know what's gone wrong in the last 2 series and really wanting to get those fixed. Talking to his wide receivers and his offensive line. He just wants to see better communication and show these Razorbacks that he's deserving of this role.
A positive sign for Razorback fans all around to see that out of their new starting quarterback.
You know, it's hard, Mike, when you're talking quarterbacks. It's hard to get these guys to just keep this thing simple. drop back, go through your reads. If it's not there, if it's not blatantly obvious that that route is going to be open, check the football down. Now, obviously in 3rd and long situations, situational football is different. But when you're in a situation like a spring game, everything's pretty vanilla. Hey, if it's not there, if it's not clear as day, check that sucker down and let these young backs make a play for you.
Time for rapid fire field goals here. Scoring is as usual here. Each kick through the uprights counts for 3 points. So it's Cole Hedlund, the sophomore from Argyle, Texas, who's getting the first try at it.
And Mike, this has been a sensitive topic for Coach Bielema. 2014, misses an extra point, misses a field goal, loses to Alabama. 2015, team gets in position to kick a field goal as time expires to win the game right here in Fayetteville, and it gets blocked. So this is something that not only has he put extra emphasis on in spring, he's allowed Kurt Anderson, the new offensive line coach, to change up some techniques up front and hopefully help this protection out.
Hedlund's second try is good. So it's Hedlund on the left in the white, and the senior from Greenwood, Arkansas, Adam McFain, in the red jersey. He knocks the second one through. Hedlund last year 9 for 15. The sore spot field goal kicking wise last year for him was just 1 of 5 on kicks beyond 30 yards.
Yeah, it's been erratic to say the least at Arkansas in the kicking game. They've got a lot of talent. I mean, there's guys that have Hedlund came in here very, very well decorated out of high school. He's a guy that they put a lot of stock in, and so they expect big things from him. Clearly, it would make Coach Bielema's life a lot easier if they could find a guy they could just depend on.
Tied at 6 as the field goal kicking competition continues. When we return, a chat with Hunter Henry, the stud tight end and the 2015 Mackey Award winner for the Hawks. A thunderous roar from the Razorback faithful as Hunter Henry, who is likely to be the #1 tight end selected in the upcoming NFL draft, receives the Mackey Award given to the nation's top collegiate tight end. 51 catches, nearly 750 yards for him last year, 3 touchdowns. And you look at the lineage of guys who have won this award. It's only been given out since 2000. Back in the early days from Iowa, Dallas Clark, Tyler Eifert, not too long ago. And then the winner the year before was Nick O'Leary, who seemed to be always open for Florida State in 2014. And Hunter Henry calling the Hogs here as he accepts the Mackey Award, a well-deserved trophy for him.
Well-deserved. Loves being a Razorback. He's a guy that when Bielema came in, he had to go grab him out of Little Rock, Arkansas. He made the decision to come to Arkansas over some other big-time programs and help Coach Bielema turn this thing around. So not only was he a great player, very deserving of the award, he is proud to be standing in midfield out there on that Razorback for sure.
All right, and let's send things down to the field in just a moment with Casey as she'll catch up with him. You look at the history of tight ends that they've had as well. With tight ends, you go back to the beginning of the Bielema era, A.J. Derby, and then Henry. This is some of his highlights from last year. And now with Jeremy Sprinkle as well, hoping to fill in his shoes. What kind of an outlet does it provide as a quarterback to know that you've got a guy who, within a 10, 15-foot radius, is going to make that grab?
Sure, he's a guy that he's obviously his stems of all of his routes start right there next to you. So he generally speaking, has a very similar visual of the defense as the quarterback. He can see the backer's depth. He can see the safety sneaking down. He can see things as much like a quarterback as any other receiver on the football field. So that guy right there is critical not only to scoring the football and winning games, but really a quarterback's health. He's a guy that allows the quarterback to get the ball out on time. He's in the right place at the right time, and that is a big asset to have for a quarterback. Brandon Allen leaned on that young man right there heavily throughout the season.
Back to it after the field goal kicking competition. It was 4 for each side, 3 points for each make. And so Cole Headland, who's right now #1 on the depth chart, was 2 for 4, as was Adam McFain, who's behind him, also 2 of 4.
2 for 4, being 50-50 from the on the field goal unit's not going to get it. That's going to be something that these coaches are going to have to get straight sooner rather than later. As we mentioned, that's a sore spot for Coach Brett Bielema after what's happened in 2014 and 2015 with a couple of big games. They'll get that corrected.
Looking for the next Zach Hocker.
Absolutely.
On the rollout, the toss goes for Sprinkle. He's through 1 tackle, and he's got a first down. And now we go down to the field, and Casey.
Well, Hunter, I know that you got to hold that a couple of months ago for a little bit, but now you get to take it home. You're in front of the Razorback fans. How do you describe this moment?
I mean, it's awesome. It's what you dream of since I was a little kid. So to be able to, finally get the trophy. When I came into college, that was my ultimate goal, is to win the Mackey Award. And so getting to fulfill that dream and being able to do it in front of all these fans in this great state, there's nothing like it.
And when you look at your time here with Arkansas, how did it prepare you for the next level?
I mean, what Coach B does, he prepares guys for the next level, especially in this system and my position and the offensively and defensively and what you do every single day throughout the week. It really prepares you for the next level. And all the coaches, the scouts, everyone recognizes that through this whole process. And so, I'm really ready for the next step.
I know you're roommates with Austin Allen. So what have you seen from him out here today? Man,
he's doing awesome. He's slinging the ball. It's his first kind of action in front of everybody on TV and being able to, show what he's got. I have a lot of faith in him. I've seen him for the last 3 years. There might be a lot of doubters in the fan base, but if you would really see what he does every single day and the work he puts in, and the arm talent he has, the mind he has, I'm as close as anybody on the team. And I know firsthand that I'm very confident that next year he'll be able to lead our team.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what's next for you. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Mike?
Casey, that confidence is shared not only by Hunter, but also by Brett Bielema, the rest of the staff, and the team as well. What Coach B told us yesterday in his office was neither of the Allen brothers are guys who are rah-rah, in-your-face leader types. But what you do see is that when they make a good play, their teammates are there to support them.
Yeah, they're genuine and sincere guys. They got a little bit different, swagger to each one of them. But I tell you, they're genuine, sincere. It's real, and it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what position you play. You can relate to that. You appreciate that. And when you're a quarterback that possesses those kind of traits, it only helps you.
We've got the first team defense back out on the field now. There was a carry by Jawan Day, the sophomore from North Little Rock. It was a handoff for Keon Hatcher, the redshirt senior wide receiver. He had open space toward the end zone, fumbled it out of the back of the end zone. So still no points for that first team offense. It was a touchback, and it puts the red team back to work against the white team defense.
Well, that's one way that you can expect offensive coordinator Dan Enos to get the football to this talented receiving core, not just through the air, not with screens, not with shot plays, but a lot of times it's that misdirection on that speed sweep that everybody in the country's running. So got to keep those guys happy. They're 5 deep. It's not going to be an easy job.
Cody Hollister already has 2 carries, the senior out of Oregon, each of those for 15 yards for the speedster. It's a great group at wide receiver with Hatcher, Jared Cornelius, Dominique Reed, Drew Morgan, and then Hollister as well, your top 5.
Hatcher's a guy that you'd really like to see take the next step. He's a good-looking body in pads, really good-looking at the receiver position. Big kid, can move well, but 50-50 balls go uncaught way too often. Things like that right there, you get a chance to get points on the board, and the ball slips out and gets through the back of the end zone, and it's a turnover. So those are things that as a senior you've got to clean up, and you've got to become that reliable target for a young quarterback.
Pass breakup on that last throw to the edge by Kevin Richardson, the junior from Jacksonville, Arkansas, who secondary coach Paul Rhodes says is in the lead right now to be the starting nickel back. So meaning when there's 5 defensive backs on the field, he'll be out there as well in those 3rd down, 4th down situations. Punt goes out of bounds. 9:19 left here in the second. It's a good day to snort. There's Tusk on the sidelines, tied at 6 in the red and white game. Weekdays 3 Eastern, ESPN Radio's Paul Feinbaum shares compelling opinions on SEC football through a deep knowledge of the conference and interaction with passionate callers, Paul, that have followed him for years. The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays 3 Eastern on the SEC ESPN Network. Was that accurate?
That was well done, sir. Well done.
Tied at 6 here in the red-white game. 9:19 to go. Mike Cousins, Clint Sterner, Casey Smith down on the sidelines as Austin Allen and the first team offense go back to work here on this drive. And off to the left side, and that's Denzel Evans, the junior from Houston, working behind what's going to be an offensive line that has a lot of eyes on it this year, especially a guy like Hjalte Froholdt, who's never played on the offensive line before.
Yeah, you talk about a unique story, obviously, from Denmark. Comes over here, Coach Bielema. I don't know how he found that young man in Denmark, but he did. He comes over here as a defensive lineman and gets some snaps and shows some promise, and there's an upside there. And the vacancies on the offensive side of the football allowed him to make that transition. He swallowed his pride. Again, no ego, hanging at the door. He changes positions and has excelled in 15 practices. I asked Coach Bielema standing down there on the field before the game. I said, Coach, is this serious? You got a guy from Denmark. He plays on defensive line. He switches over to guard. He's now running with the ones. Is this a sign of we're not very deep on the offensive line, or is this a sign that this kid's pretty good? He said, Clint, he's the real deal. He's got a chance to be special if he keeps learning at the pace that he's on right now.
The word that Danny Enos used to describe the progress and the way that the team feels about him is ecstatic about Hjalte Froholdt at left guard. Ball is loose, and a dive for it by Allen. He covers up, and a loss of about 2 there.
Add that to the list of things that you do not want to see in a spring game right there with your one quarterback and one of the running backs he's been working with throughout the spring. Denzel Evans. Denzel Evans is that running back. There's 3 young guys that are playing today in that backfield that, again, we mentioned it earlier, they're playing for an opportunity to compete in the fall for actual clock during a game. Back on the offensive line, Mike, one thing that goes unnoticed, and as fans watch this game, one thing that you need to watch is the space. It doesn't necessarily always result in a 15-yard run or a 50-yard run, but watch how much space the quarterback has around him when he's in the pocket. A little misdirection right here. The left tackle didn't do, or that may have been a tight end, didn't do a very good job of sealing that in so that Austin Allen could get outside. But generally speaking, there's some good space up there for that quarterback to function right there. 75 gets out. He's got to pin that defensive end right there, either inside or outside, one way or another. He's got to stalemate that guy to allow the quarterback to set his feet and make a throw. You can't let him have a run by. Just, again, there's going to be growing pains with this offensive line. That's one of the details that they've got to get ironed out before the fall.
And in case you were wondering who the unnumbered man in the green jersey is, that's Drew Morgan, who's coming back from offseason surgery. This time it's Cody Hollister, who helps regain some of that lost yardage ahead to the 35.
There's you a great picture of what Austin Allen's capable of. This offensive line holds the line. They stalemate everyone in red jerseys across the middle. And you see here, Austin's got plenty of room to execute. He knows exactly where he's going with the football before it's snapped. The ball's up early with air, lay it on the sideline. Receiver runs a great route, catch and run. Now you're in a manageable 3rd and 1.
You're a quarterback. Would you feel comfortable throwing out of that pocket?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's not talked about enough, Mike. You talk about quarterbacks and how they function and how they execute. You don't have to sack a quarterback 15 times in order to get to him. In fact, you don't even have to hit him. He cannot have one grass stain on his jersey, but if you've been around his feet all night long, he's going to be tired after that football game. He's going to make poor decisions. He's going to not step into his throws. He's going to make inaccurate throws. Those are things that go unnoticed as you watch a football game.
1st and 10 now for Allen and the first team Arkansas offense. Looking deep, one-on-one. Keon Hatcher has it poked away at the last second. Good job, Willie Sykes with the left hand.
Again, really clean pocket for the quarterback. Great offensive call by the offensive coordinator. You get exactly what you want. Your senior receiver, big-bodied receiver, one-on-one with a defensive back. Those are the plays that for this offense to be successful this year have to be made. Number 4 has to go up and make that play. The quarterback's done his job. The offensive line's done his job. The offensive coordinator's done his job. Now go make a play, young fella.
2nd and 10, handoff through the middle for Evans, who last year had just 6 carries for 48 yards. So Colton Jackson right now is number 1 at the left tackle spot, 74 there in the white. Is that going to be the most important spot when fall camp rolls around?
No question, it's the most important spot. Again, talking to the coaching staff, Denver Kirkland leaving for the NFL was a bit of a surprise. They didn't expect him to go. They didn't feel like he was ready to go. But for whatever reasons, you know, his party decided it was time to move to the NFL. So that vacancy, not only is it the most important on every football team, but it was a surprise on this football team. So there's no doubt about it. Colton Jackson has to play beyond his years. He's a redshirt freshman from right here in Conway, Arkansas. Great physical attributes. He has the ability to do it. He's just got to fast track that learning curve to be the guy that this football team needs him to be.
18-yard pickup downfield to Dominique Reed, who's coming back after was taken off the field on a stretcher at the Liberty Bowl with a neck injury in January, and a guy who can run like the wind. There's another handoff with motion. Cornelius is upended at the 7-yard line.
Dominique Reed is a guy that once he got on the field last year, took a couple of guys getting injured, but once he got on the field last year, this offense took off. He's a guy that has the speed to get over the top of any defensive back shell in the country. He can really run, and when you have that out wide, defensive coordinators know about it, safeties know about it. They're a little bit hesitant to jump those underneath route. They're a little bit hesitant to jump down in that box and play the run with that guy out there.
Anthony Antoine is the up back, moving from wide receiver to the tight end spot here in the spring. And it's a fight at the goal line and over the goal line. Denzel Evans.
That was an impressive run. And you talk about Antoine. He's a guy that's been receiver, tight end. Obviously, with Sprinkle putting his hand in the dirt, they need somebody to come out of the backfield right there and log that defensive end or that linebacker. Give that running back some space. Once a running back that size gets moving downhill, 5'11", 215, probably plays a little bit bigger than that. That's a hungry young man right there that hadn't had much of an opportunity to play, and he gets the ball in this type of situation down there inside the 10-yard line. He's got a little extra drive to get in that end zone.
Cole Headland is on for the extra point. A year ago, a perfect 58 of 58 on the try after, and he keeps that streak alive to make it 13-6 in favor of the white squad. It took a little bit of time this beautiful afternoon in Fayetteville. We've got our first offensive score of the day from Denzel Evans.
Let's roll. Dig. Get up there, finish strong. Dig. Don't let your tempo fade. Give me what you got. It is balls to the wall. Second guy. Go. Run with it, drive it. Don't just do it, attack it. Pull that glue through. Good, Sleep. Show control into the set. Again, attack the rep. Start strong, finish strong.
You heard the man, Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning coach for the Razorbacks, who spent 15 years at Wisconsin and now has been here with Brett Bielema ever since he made the move to take over for the Razorbacks. And you can see it that he has made a difference for these players.
He's made a big difference. The mentality of this offense, this football team with Brett Bielema is they want to be physical up front. That starts in the weight room. They spend a lot of time with the strength coach. And that time in that weight room is valuable, and you better believe it. They're preaching be physical, be powerful, and play downhill.
Casey, what kind of a difference has he made for this team?
Well, Mike, one of the things that Bret Bielema told us is that the reason that this game is the last in the SEC is not because of a coincidence. It's because he and the strength and conditioning staff have decided that they want to see at least 8 weeks between the bowl game and spring camp because they want to have training purposes. They want to say if guys need to lose weight, if guys need to gain weight, they want to have ample amount of time to get that strength and conditioning in. He said they plan it a year in advance, so we can expect a late game again next year as well.
You know, one thing that Bret Bielema believes in as well is gaining throughout the season. He said a lot of teams try to maintain. He believes in gaining. And again, that falls on Ben Herbert's shoulders. One thing that I look back on that Ben Herbert's pretty proud of is his time at Wisconsin between 2009 and 2012. They outscored opponents 435 to 300 in the fourth quarter. Point being, we want to be more powerful and have more effort and energy in the fourth quarter than anybody else in the country. They were 15-5 in games played in November throughout that stretch. It's a credit to the strength coach in having those guys ready to play football deep in the season.
Peavy with the rollout and the high toss for Will Gragg, the redshirt freshman tight end from here in Arkansas. So slow starts have certainly been a problem. 4-5 last year was those losses to Toledo and Little Rock and Texas Tech, but then finishing strong after they beat Tennessee. Only lost twice the rest of the year last year.
Yeah, finishing strong is not the problem because, again, the schedule strengthens late in the season, and that happens to be when they're playing better football. This team's got to come out of the gate stronger this coming season, even given the fact that you've lost so many guys on the offensive side of the football, so many quality players on the offensive side of the football. You've got to find a way to come out of the gate strong.
Open up at home against Louisiana Tech and then go on the road. So it starts early, going to TCU in the second week of the season.
Yeah, as if the SEC West and a little bit of the East schedule isn't tough enough. You've got to go to Fort Worth and play TCU, and then you go to Dallas again. Might as well be in Fort Worth, Arlington, to play Texas A&M 2 weeks later. So there's a lot of good. You talk to the coaches. There's a lot of good in playing in Texas. There that for recruiting purposes, and the kids seem to enjoy going down there. But when you've got to go play TCU week 2, it can be a little bit scary.
Cheyenne O'Grady with the rollout and the catch for the big pickup there. One of those really 4 guys trying to compete, now 5 as well if you add Anthony Antwine. 26-yard pickup there to be that backup tight end with Will Gragg and O'Grady, Austin Cantrell, and Jack Krause as well, who's not playing because of injury here in the spring game.
You've got some different bodies there, Mike. You've got several guys that can really go in the passing game, which when you're 5 deep at wide receiver like we've talked about, I don't know that part is as important. You've got to find a guy. It's a special guy because it's not natural for us to put our hand in the dirt and stick our nose between the middle linebackers' numbers and blocking 30 times a game. That's not natural. It takes a special guy to do that. They've got to find that guy that not only can do it but enjoys it.
Rafe Peavy on the run there. You know, circling back to the point you made about playing in Texas, in what was America's most tired spring subject in football, satellite camps, Bret Bielema had said, you know, before all this legislation came through that nixed them, that Texas would have been a great spot for them because of their association with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, you know, that's an asset that I benefited from first and foremost, but that's definitely an asset that this program benefits from on a yearly basis. You know, the spring tour that we went on to SEC Network earlier in the year, you know, highlighted a couple of the facilities that Jerry and Gene Jones they contributed to and allowed this university to build and expand. So that's a relationship that Bret Bielema understands, embraces, and exercises as often as possible.
1:01 left here before halftime. Is it fair to say, accurate, that satellite camps are the most tired piece of spring conversation?
Yeah, you know, I think it is, but it's one of those things that it's going to continue to come up for all the right reasons. Number one being that the players benefit from this thing.
Yes.
That is something that no matter how you paint the picture, if you go put a camp on at a smaller university's campus or in their city, You find the diamonds in the rough that you may have not seen. The kid gets the opportunity to perform in front of several different levels of college football, and they can find diamonds in the rough.
So that's the most important part for the kid who's not an SEC player or a Pac-12 or a Big 12 player, to be able to be seen by the MAC, the Sun Belt coach, who might not otherwise get to see that player.
Absolutely.
Out of the timeout for a water break. It's a miscommunication and an overthrow. Looking to the edge there, LaMichael Petway, the redshirt freshman, the intended target for Rafe Peavy. And what Brett Bielema said as well about the satellite camps is, in a pro-style offense, how many other teams in the SEC are going after the same type of player that Arkansas is? Now, granted, you're going for the same level of athlete, but not necessarily the guy who's going to fit the same scheme.
Well, that's one reason that Brett Bielema was for it. There's no question about it. There's several spread teams across the country, whether they're Division I or lower. He could go partner, so to speak, with those schools, and essentially they're not recruiting the same guy. Essentially, they're not going to battle over the same guy. And when that's the case, it makes for a great environment, a trusting relationship, and something that you can build on.
51-yard kick is pure. Adam McFain knocks it through. Double scoring for the red team, so that makes it a 13-12 contest in favor of the first teamers. How about the leg on that one?
He gets every bit of that one right there, right down the gut. It makes you wonder, how can a guy hit one from that deep, and then we watched two guys struggle from inside the 20 down here.
They both went 2 of 4 in the rapid fire field goal kicking between the first and second quarters. And that was what got us to a 6-6 score in the red and white game. So it's back to work here for 49 seconds for the white team. That's your first team on offense. Austin Allen, certainly, as we heard from Hunter Henry earlier, feeling like he's got something to prove this afternoon, not just to himself, but also to the fans, being named the #1 guy at the end of spring.
Well, you always want to back up the coach's decision. I think it was a great move. Having watched practice, it was obvious that Austin had separated himself from the rest of the crew. You know, the fact that Brett Bielema came out and named Austin the starter is all fine and dandy. It's great for the head coach and the team to know who that guy is. But at the end of the day, number 8's got to go out in this spring game and put something on film that the football team watches tomorrow or Monday and says, that's our guy. There's no question marks. That's our guy. And so there's definitely pressure there for Austin Allen to play, and all these quarterbacks to play well.
He stepped up through the pocket, but back at the 30-yard line, that play is blown dead.
Throwing the ball on the run is definitely going to be a strength of Austin Allen. It's a nice throw underneath open receiver. Take it. You got to see those backers get depth right there. See the backers get depth. Check the football down. You never go broke taking a profit. Check the football down. Let that guy, he's the best guy you've got, run after catch. He's a running back, for crying out loud. Check it down and let him go make a play.
Now inside of 30 seconds. Can't get away. You never go broke making a profit. That's like a good, quick, off-the-cuff. Where did you get that from? I like that. I'm stealing that.
Man, I'm old school South Texas, man. My mom and dad have all kind of sayings. I got to leave some of them at home just so you guys accept me around here. That's you. Little action right there was Sosa. McTelvin Agim, true freshman out of Hope, Arkansas. Big-time player. He's going to be a rush end for this defense. He'll be a package player probably early in his career, but he is a special young man. Not many of them are built like that at 18, but he's a guy that can play immediately and can impact play immediately. He can come off of the end at a speed with violence that you just can't coach.
He's rated number 11 in the ESPN 300 for the class of 2016. So he's here early, and the first 5-star prospect to commit to Arkansas in the 7 years that the ESPN 300 has been ranking players as 5 stars.
Well, you're talking about this defense gets the offense in a 2nd and 14 or 15. Now a young man like that goes from being a young, inexperienced guy to now you've played right into his wheelhouse. Pin your ears back and get downhill and get to the quarterback. Great play by the quarterback there, stepping up in the pocket and making that throw on the dig route.
Hatcher on the catch, had the first down to stop the clock. Long crossfield throw is nearly intercepted. And there's a flag on the play. Willie Sykes, the sophomore out of Houston, trying to take it away.
The receiver, Dominique Reed here, another hidden part of the game that most fans don't see. If he continues to fade to the sideline on this ball here, it's a pick and probably a pick six. He comes back to the football. Guess what? Now the DB has to go through him to get to the football. Flag, first down offense. That's one of those things that you watch a receiver continue to sideline, watch a pick six, and you dog cuss the quarterback. At the end of the day, a good, savvy senior receiver can make a huge difference for a quarterback in an offense.
One more, maybe two more chances for Austin Allen in this first team offense, closing in on halftime at the red and white spring game. Three wide receivers. Rush closing in, trying to use that sideline. It's off the fingertips. On the sidelines, Jeremy Sprinkle.
We talked about that catch window he's got. Now, obviously, he's got to make that catch. That's not only a catch he's got to make. That's situational football. You catch it on the sideline, you step out of bounds, you got 3 seconds from the 13 instead of 3 seconds from the 30, and you're having to kick a field goal. Big difference. A guy like Jeremy Sprinkle has to make that catch.
A catch could have set them up for one more shot at the end zone if they needed it. You talk situationally, or just a shorter field goal. Now this try for Cole Hedling comes from 48 yards. 51 for Adam McFain, the other side of the field, and 48 is good for Hedling. So 16-12 with the white team out in front of the red team. Now it's double scoring for the red team because they are a team comprised of backups. So that last field goal gave them, instead of going from 6 up to 9, they went from 6 up to 12. But still, those first few drives stalled out for that white team. And then Jeremy Sprinkle wasn't able to get that catch. Now at the half, let's go down to Casey on the sideline.
Thanks, Coach. You called this ones versus the world. What have you seen from these two groups?
You know, I think the defense on both sides is playing really good, tackling efficiently. I thought we've made some nice open field tackles. Austin's doing okay, but we had some misuse of the football. We had Keon Hatcher with bad ball security over there, did some things in the first quarter that weren't us. So we got to play through this a little bit. I'm excited to see these guys come back out.
When you talk about Austin, what do you want to see differently offensively in the second half?
Well, I want to see the plays work, you know. It sounds simple, but, you know, we had a high ball there at the end. It could have gave us another 12 yards of field position. A couple times we hit the guys and behind them in their running routes, which slows them down after the catch. Just little things like that that make a big difference on game day.
I know it's a spring game, so you're a little bit more in charge. Is anything going to change in the second half?
No, I think we'll stay with this personnel really through the third quarter. Try to get some guys in the fourth quarter to make them, you know, some guys that have had some good opportunities in the spring, but otherwise keep doing what we're doing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, Casey. 16-12, first teamers out in front. Old Main on the beautiful campus here at the University of Arkansas. We'll be back with our halftime report right after this timeout. White leads red 16-12. First teamers with a 4-point advantage at the half here at the Arkansas spring game, with Austin Allen leading the charge and in the lead. And recently, Clint Sterner caught up with the new quarterback for the Razorbacks here at the stadium. Let's listen in.
Here in Razorback Stadium with Razorback quarterback Austin Allen. Austin, you've had ties to this program and literally this field for a long time. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I've been, ever since I can remember, I've been watching Razorback football games. Some of my first memories were you playing back in the day here. And
got a good memory.
You and Anthony Lucas. And, you know, just growing up a huge Razorback fan, going through it all, being on the sidelines, it's been pretty special to actually play for them now.
Talk a little bit about that. I mean, your history is your dad's obviously was a coach in '98 when I was here. Your brother just graduated, ended on an extremely high note. The pressure's coming from a football family.
Yeah.
Is that, do you embrace that? Is that something that's tough for you? How do you handle that?
I would say I just embrace it, really. I mean, it's kind of been that way ever since I can remember, going up through Pee Wee baseball, football, and everything. I always wanted to be just like Brandon or better than Brandon and everything. And then high school came, and he had a heck of a high school career. And then no one thought I'd be able to do what he did, and just try to follow his footsteps and try to become better, really.
What are you looking forward to the most working on between now and opening weekend against Louisiana Tech to be the best version of you can be?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get better every single day, you know, getting in the film room, learning the playbook, talking with Coach Enos, and really learning the defenses and how to exploit the defenses.
Fast forward, it's into your career. You started 2 years here, right? You got 2 left, junior, senior year?
Yeah.
You started 2 years here. What do you want everybody to view Austin Allen, the quarterback, as?
My whole goal is just to be a winner, really. I mean, win an SEC championship, bring something to this university that we haven't had, and I mean, that's all I really want to be. I don't care about individual accolades or anything. I just want to win football games.
Can't argue with wanting to be a winner. What has he shown you so far in the first half?
Well, early on, he took what the defense gave him. He's obviously got very skilled feet. He's got his arm action is as solid as there is in the game. So he brings a lot to the table right there. Very accurate on a tough throw to the sideline, small windows. But right here, can't force the football. That's been his downfall, is forcing the football. Got to correct that.
Hey, it's just more game experience, too. He's only thrown 19 career passes in live game action. Did have a touchdown last year, though. It's 16-12. Allen's first teamers out in front of the red team here at the break. Halftime on a beautiful afternoon in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The 2016 red and white spring game wrapping up spring practice for the Hogs. Razorback head coach Bret Bielema. Let us put a microphone on him. One of the recent practices. Here's what he's had to say.
Now, one thing I did like, guys came out with a little purpose today. All right, but when we're going good on good, one team has success, the other one's going to have failure, obviously. Jog in, jog out. Jog in, jog out. Jog in, jog out. Let's go. Strain, 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 strain. Jalen, step forward. TJ, step forward. Get on your man. Step forward, not backwards. Jalen, you know what I mean? Step forward, man. Use your weight, brother. That's what they got you in there for. Eyes up. Eyes up. Your eyes go down, you go down.
You say hi to Coach B?
What's this girl's name?
This is Clara.
Hi, Clara.
Can you say hi? Are you going to act like you're shy now? He's been talking the whole time we've been in.
I have that effect on people. The white guy here, bald white guy, he's got size 18 shoe as well. So they were in there today. They're both at the same table studying film, and they both had their feet next to there. And I'm like, those are the 4 largest feet together I've ever seen. That weren't in a zoo somewhere. And then all those things they got to learn in your class, and they got to learn all this. Gun empty, left, 52 hot, condo slop. And defense, we're a little slower on defense. We just minimize it to 4 words or less. There it is! There it is! There it is! Good job! Great job!
Coach B teaching a little Haganese. Clint Sterner, you see the way he interacts with everybody on the practice field. What do you think guys like most about playing for Coach Bielema?
But he has a unique ability to connect with people, whether it's the players or their parents in recruiting or the media. And because of that unique ability, he can say things, again, to players, in front of a camera, in front of an audience that most people can't get away with because of that connection that he has. And he plays it well and plays it to his benefit, and it's fun to cover, no doubt.
Unique and exciting, and the record has gotten better in each of his first 3 years at Arkansas, and a good preview of what year 4 in the Bielema era looks like this afternoon. Back here at Razorback Stadium, we've got a 4-point game. Let's go down to Casey Smith with Brandon Allen.
Well, Brandon, I know today's a little bit different for you. You're watching it from a different angle. How does it feel to be back knowing what this Arkansas program did for you?
You know, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, it's different being on this side of it now, being in the stands, watching it, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm ready to see what they can do this year, and it looks great so far. You know, I obviously wish there were a little more points on the board, but they're going to turn it on the second half.
Well, and speaking of that, how have you seen your little brother do that starting quarterback role?
Yeah, he really took charge. I think he's done a great job so far, and you know, he knew it was going to be a competition going into it, and he did his best, and obviously he got the nod to be the starter, and you know, I think he's going to do a lot of good things in this program.
How much do you talk to him about this starting role, especially because you guys were on the team together?
Really none. You know, I kind of let him figure it out on his own, but when I was here, you know, I obviously did my best to help him out, give him some pointers and things, and try to help him not make the same mistakes I made early in my career. But no, he's done a great job, and I think he's going to figure it out for himself.
Well, you finished last season on a really high note. What has this time been like as you prepare for the NFL draft?
It's been long. It's been real long. I was in Florida for a couple of months training. I'm back to the Combine, to the Senior Bowl, ready for next week, ready for the draft, ready to see where I'm going, and so we'll see what happens.
I know that you've been around Fayetteville your entire life and with this program, but do you have a favorite memory when you look back on your time here?
Any game we've won, any game we've won is one of my favorite memories, and there's really nothing like Fayetteville after a win. It's a great place to be. It's a great town, and the fan base is unbelievable. So anytime you win a game here, it's unbelievable. It's awesome.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what's next. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Casey, Austin, the younger brother, is going to have a little bit of an easier time, assuming that he takes the field as the starter on September 3rd against Louisiana Tech, because you go back to when Brandon made his first start as a redshirt freshman in 2012. It was only against Alabama, so it'll be a little bit easier, so to speak, for Austin when he gets out there this year. We are just underway here in the third quarter with the red team down by 4. This is the team comprised primarily of backups. Damon Duwop-Mitchell, the sophomore from Little Rock, Arkansas, getting the carry there. And we have changed things up a little bit in the third quarter as well, because now Clint Sterner, instead of being up here in the booth with me, much to his pleasure, has escaped and is down on the field.
That's right. I'm down here in the middle of all the action, fellas, with Coach Bielema right now. Coach B, quick 3-and-out quick series right there. What'd you see?
Well, we wanted to try to run the ball a little bit with our twos. We got Damon Mitchell, who hasn't really played a lot of tailback. He was a quarterback when we first brought him here. You saw 2 runs there. He is explosive, but he needs a lot of reps. Our 2 punter, actually, Blake Johnson, has done a great job for us. Hitting the ball, getting it to turnover, as you saw right there. We did all the kicking game except for KOC, KOR, but we've been steadily getting better all spring.
Gotcha. Obviously, it's a double-edged sword. If your offense gets stopped, your defense did well. That was your one defense. What have you seen from them?
You know what? I think we were a little bit frustrated in the first half offensively. We didn't break 1 tackle. But the flip side of it was we're tackling very well on defense. So our coaches get lost in that translation. But overall, I think the guys have been playing, pretty good, up to speed. Miscue with the ball over here with Hatcher in the first half, and Reed dropped that play over on the sideline. But otherwise, our ones, we're doing some things. We just got to capitalize down in the red zone.
Coach, we better get out from behind the defense. They're liable to spark us.
So it's the ones back to work here on offense, led by Austin Allen. He fakes, rolls out, and tosses for a short gain. That's Anthony Antwine, the junior from Plano, Texas. 6'4", 217, trying to figure into the mix among those tight ends.
Coach Bielema's going to let us know when the play's actually coming at us. Coach, a lot of misdirection today offensively for Austin Allen. Is that something that you guys expect to do a lot of? Is that an effort to get the good receivers that you got involved, or what?
I think 2 things. Austin actually throws the ball pretty well on the move, to the right and to the left. One, to be able to take advantage of that. In addition to that, our wide receivers and tight ends, we're trying to get a passing game that looks a lot like a running game. I think the more we can accomplish that, will be able to balance us out and do a good job of being able to complement the whole group. We're going to call for a sack.
Hey, Coach, a deep post coming right at us. That falls in the category of we need a warning, man.
We do need a warning. Now, I knew we only had one. It's a double post that I think you're familiar with, that we're concerned about.
I'm very familiar with it, absolutely.
Play blown dead. Denzel Evans was the intended target there for Allen. Trying to replace Brandon, who made 34 straight starts at quarterback for the Razorbacks. The most for an Arkansas quarterback since they joined the SEC back in 1992. It's now 3rd down and 12.
Gotcha. We're going to have a double dig concept here. Allen rolling right. Morgan, you can see him in the green jersey trying to get that backside throw, but looks like the pressure from the defense put a kink in that. So you look like you're going to get another punt return.
So, Clint, you're breaking that down there, the double dig. It looked like it was Jeremy Sprinkle and Jared Cornelius, right?
Yeah, you had a great concept with 2 of the better players, Jeremy Sprinkle and Jared Cornelius. Those are 2 reliable targets. And then coming on the backside, you had Drew Morgan. So you've really got 3 solid receivers there that the quarterback can depend on. I don't know what else a young quarterback could want in a receiving corps.
Toby Baker lets it fly. Fair catch called for at the 7-yard line. No points on the board for that first team. Oh, but high praise for Austin Allen from the Hogs head man. Back here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, the final spring game for the SEC. The Razorbacks with their first teamers, the white jerseys over the red jerseys, 16-12, and 7:29 to go here in the third. Mike Cousins up here in the booth. Clint Sterner, the former Razorbacks quarterback, down on the field. Casey Smith with us as well here this afternoon. So it's your second teamers on offense against the first team defense. And Dre Greenlaw, the weak side linebacker, gets a nice push there, the sophomore out of Fayetteville High School.
Mike, looks like we're going to get a continuous clock here in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. Coach Bielema just told me that they're going to do some up-tempo, not necessarily no huddle, but just some up-tempo, move with a sense of urgency and see if they can't move the ball a little bit. What exactly, Coach, or talked to Coach Enos yesterday about developing an identity. It was a beautiful thing because he mentioned that he has the flexibility in the personnel, and you give him the flexibility to do what the best 11 guys can do. What is that identity for this football team after 15 practices?
A little bit in the process, but you know, we got 5 wide receivers that we feel really good about. Got a tight end that we love, and Jeremy Sprinkle. Haven't quite found home yet with our fullback. We do by committee have a group of running backs I think have the ability to change the game. So we're probably at either an 11 or a 12 personnel team. My first year we were heavy 21 and then went through 2 seasons of heavy 12. We get one of these young buck tight ends or maybe one of the guys coming in to do some good things. Whistle, whistle, whistle. 2 punt, 2 punt, 2 punt. We could change our personnel. It's from the 5. You should be good. But, you know, this summer, we'll new guys coming in the fall. You know, never know what another summer can do with those young tight ends and hopefully give us a little more balance.
Coach, one thing that I found out yesterday, I wish you'd brag a little bit more about yourself when we talk about things, but an interesting stat was that QBR rating. The top 8 in college football, you've got 2 of them over the last, I don't know, 8 years, I guess, with Russell Wilson and Brandon Allen last year. Everybody looks at this football team and a Brett Bielema coach football team as a ground and pound, downhill running backs, tight ends. That shows that you got a little bit of flexibility with the quarterback to let him do some things.
It does. I like the fact that, you know, the part that Russell kind of educated me on is as much as we are able to have success running the football, it makes the reads easier before the snap because people have to tilt their coverages. And I think Russell really took advantage of it, and I know B.A. did a year ago. We'll try to get Austin to do the same thing or whoever's in there this year. It really can make the play become a lot cleaner for a quarterback before the play ever happens.
Here comes the punt. Blake Johnson back deep. And it's fair caught at the 40-yard line. You got a great softball doubleheader for you tonight on the SEC ESPN Network. A full day of action. First at 6 Eastern, number 11 Kentucky meets 4th-ranked Alabama at Rhodes Stadium. And then at 8 p.m., 2 freshman phenoms lead their teams as Ashley Diaz in Arkansas battle Haley Lunderman and Ole Miss. It's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and on the ESPN app. Now, when Coach Bielema talks about, for the fans who may not know, let's say 12 personnel, that's to the formation grouping. So it's 1 running back, 2 tight ends. Works well with a Collins on the field, a Hunter Henry and a Jeremy Sprinkle mix. And that's why they're trying to figure out, Glenn, is exactly who those guys are going to be this year. And they don't have the full complement here as we get a look at the first team offense again of those guys out there, especially at running back, where Cody Walker, who broke his right foot 11 days ago, won't be back until June.
Well, I think the easiest you know, player position to replace in this offense is going to be running back. If you can get that left side of the offensive line tightened up, if you can find a tight end that steps up and replaces Sprinkle last year, obviously Sprinkle's going to replace Hunter. That H-back type guy that can move around in the backfield and lead block. If you can find that guy, the running back isn't necessarily the difficult part to fill. Obviously, you'd like to have a guy that can take it to the house at any point in time, but there's a stable of running backs that can get the job done.
Juwan Day, Damon Duwop-Mitchell, Denzel Evans have all been in there. We saw Raleigh Williams in his green jersey coming off of neck surgery early on. A no contact player, and this is Evans again, who scored a touchdown in the first half. Go on the left side for Arkansas. Wide receiver, widely regarded as what's going to be the most stacked position for the Razorbacks coming back into this year, returning their top 4 guys. If you look at the number of catches they all had last year, and 5 guys, Keon Hatcher, Jared Cornelius, Dominique Reed, Drew Morgan, and Cody Hollister, who has shown his speed on end arounds today, have all impressed. Now Cornelius takes the toss. He's got a blocker in front, that's Sprinkle. And the tacklers quickly converge. Among those, Sosa Agim, number 3 in the red, the highly touted freshman out of Hope, Arkansas. We talked about the strength coach earlier, Ben Herbert. Brett Bielema joked earlier in the spring that he came in at 265. He's almost up to 290 now. He basically can't fit in any of the clothes he showed up with on campus. Early enrollee, came in January, about a year ahead. So if all things go well for him, he can have his degree in 3 years. Low snap. Allen recovers with time in the pocket. A dart over the middle. Keon Hatcher.
Mike, that throw right there is exactly what Austin Allen brings to the table. It's probably a little bit different than Brandon Allen. That surfer boy swag we talked about, he just doesn't get rattled. I mean, the bad snap, you know, I was a guy that would yell at my center before I ever threw the football. He dives down, picks it up, and throws a strike across the middle. Let me get with Coach Bielema and see what he thought about that right there. Coach, great throw. Obviously a snap you're not real proud of, but great throw, we think.
We rolled the ball back. Obviously got to get that. I think the big thing is, you know, we're just not sharp. Keon missed a lot of practice at the beginning. We'll get him playing good football. Going to bounce right here. We got to get it in. This is actually good for us. Have a little adversity with the ones. I think we got to, because you know, the part that helps us down here, we haven't got a lot of goal. This is the area you really worry about injury. So the two offense, or one more offense versus 2 defense, we've got very few reps on this in the spring, so this is a good series for us.
Coach, you talked a little bit about adversity in general. With a young offensive football team, how important is it to expose them to that adversity and see how they handle it?
Huge, you know, especially with the crowd, you know. This is as big a crowd as we'll get before that La Tech game next year. And I think for these guys to have that here today, to have a little bit of a there they go, thank you.
That's a beautiful sign.
It is a beautiful sign. I'll tell you what, we're going to have a good third quarter. We're going to have a little flashback.
Looks like we're having a little fun. Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about before this clock runs out. From up in the booth up there, the offensive line looks like they're providing a lot of room for the quarterback to execute, a lot of room for those running backs to at least get to the line and hit a hole. It's pretty impressive considering how young they are.
I like the way they've developed for the most part. You know, the guys have done a nice job, especially our 2 new guards. You know, Yelder for Holtz only played guard now for about 9 days, you know, so that's a sign. Skipper, Ragnow, some guys have been around. Jeremy Sprinkle, those guys have continued to get good, but those young guys have been doing a nice job and hopefully carry forward through the fall.
You got it.
Quarter. Here we go, field goal.
They'll have the field goal competition, but as Coach Bielema referenced, a little flashback, and it involves Clint Sterner. Stay tuned. Wrapping up the rapid-fire field goal kicking competition between the red and the white teams. White team is the first teamers. They're up 23-12 as we roll on to the 4th quarter of the SEC's final spring game. As Vanderbilt was done before Arkansas got even into practice, and as Casey told us earlier, talking to Ben Herbert, the strength coach, and Brett Bielema, they want those 8 full weeks after the bowl game. They had that win against K-State in the Liberty Bowl to make sure to maximize their gains in the weight room. So a 12-minute 4th quarter, and some of the starters we won't see. Brooks Ellis on defense, Dietrich Wise, Tywan Johnson, just to ensure the health of some of those top players here for Arkansas. Looking to build on an 8-5 record last year, 5-3 in the SEC. For a team that 3 years under Brett Bielema has increased its win total each season, and will try and do that again behind a new offensive line, a new starting quarterback, and returning 9 of 11 starters on defense. So it's 32-21 after the field goal shootout. So we mentioned a flashback that involves our friend Clint Sterner. after things didn't go their way against Tennessee in 98 and 99. They did. Third-ranked Tennessee against Arkansas. Under 4 minutes, 23 yards. Sterner to Anthony Lucas across the middle. After this game, the goalposts would come down. Arkansas later that year went on to beat Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Final score 28-24 on the game-winning touchdown pass. Where is Clint Sterner now? Oh, he's looking pretty sharp down on the field. He's got his jersey hand delivered by Brett Bielema yesterday, ready to recreate that play. Sterner back to throw. He's got the post route across the middle, and it's a touchdown for Arkansas. Sterner to Lucas.
Don't leave me, baby.
He's still got the arm, and he even does it in a collared shirt. Right on target, right at the goal line. Now that it went well, I can feel comfortable saying he was certainly a little bit nervous whether the throw was going to be good, whether the arm strength was still going to be there. And we can affirm nearly 2 decades later, Clint Sterner still got it. That's a perfect way to get things set up here for the fourth quarter. We'll go a little bit further down the depth chart and the roster for the Razorbacks. Let's get some more reaction. Casey's with Coach Bielema.
Well, Coach, you just got to see some of the former players here relive their glory days. What do you think about that?
Well, I knew Sterner was going to be able to deliver it. I thought Anthony looked like he's in shape. It wasn't quite as spectacular as the one in 99, but still pretty good.
You think they still got it?
I think they still got it. I don't think we'll get that jersey off Sterner the whole night.
Yeah, you told me earlier you think he's going to wear it out tonight. Do you think we'll get some pictures of that?
And actually, Anthony Lucas' wife, I think it's their 10th anniversary, so he might keep that jersey on tonight, too.
Lots of fun. Thanks so much, Coach.
Absolutely.
Let's see, can he get the jersey off? This is the real test. He needs an equipment manager's help. And it's only because he's added too much muscle since 1999 that he needs some help to get the jersey off. Yeah, got to give credit retroactively to Ben Herbert, strength and conditioning coach here for the Razorbacks. So it's the red team down 32-21 after the rapid-fire field goal kicking competition. And toss to the sideline is out of bounds. Ty Storey is the new quarterback, getting his first throw of the afternoon. The redshirt freshman from Charleston, Arkansas. Second team quarterback for the first 3 quarters was Rafe Peavy, who has solidified his spot right now as the number 2 guy. And Storey now on the field. 6'2", 215. So he's certainly got the size. Enrolled early last January. Dan Enos says he's a guy who's very competitive. Real happy about what he's shown so far. We go back down to the field. Casey has the man of the moment.
Well, Mike, it's awkward for me to be interviewing my coworker down here on the field and not a player or coach, but I guess he's technically a player right now. How did that feel, Clint?
It felt great getting back in the huddle and actually looking them monsters in the eye and calling a play and being able to, obviously with a guy like Anthony Lucas on the other end of it, my job is easy. So it was fun. Trip down memory lane is always a good time.
Well, before the game, you were out there throwing the ball around. You were a little bit nervous. Were you expecting to connect on that first one?
I got to get loose now, Casey. I'm not as talented as most of these guys. There's some serious arm talent in college football today. That was not my strength, to say the least, so I had to build up some confidence.
Well, when you look back on that moment and getting to relive that now, spring games are always so much fun for those type of things. What does that mean to you when you look back on what that play meant to this program?
Well, I'll tell you, looking back, it means a lot more. When you're playing, you're in the heat of the moment, and it's a lot like what we do now. You know, you leave the stadium and you're done, and it's behind you and you move on. But being a former player and being in the state, you look back on it, and it was a program changer. The program was down. Not to mention the year run was tough that we had after 1998 season. So the weight of the stadium, the weight of the fans, all came down that day. It was a lot of fun.
Coach Bielema just told me he thinks you're going to go out tonight in that jersey that you just had on. Can we expect to see that?
Ooh, I probably would try to, but it was awfully tight. I'd have a hard time breathing.
Oh, I think you'd be okay. Back to you, Mike.
I don't know. It looked pretty good, but I will say, if you're Clint Sterner in Fayetteville and it takes people a jersey to recognize you, I don't know how big of Hogs fans they could be.
There's no doubt about that. I'd rather them not notice me, actually. I don't want to bring any attention to myself.
Let's take a look ahead to tomorrow. We've got a great softball doubleheader on the SEC ESPN Network, 5 Eastern. Katie Ann Bailey and Mississippi State take on #1 Florida and their stellar pitching staff. And then at 7 Eastern, number 17 Texas A&M takes on 19th ranked Missouri in Columbia. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. So fourth quarter, and the clock continues to run here inside of 9 minutes. It's a different type of evaluation period now, where the 1s and 2s have really shown what they're going to show over the first 3 quarters. But who's getting more coaching eyes on them now here in the fourth quarter, perhaps?
Well, I think it's all about building depth. I mean, competing in this conference and in this league today is you've got to build depth. I mean, everybody can compete for 3 quarters. This football team has shown that they can be right there at the end with anybody in the country. But it goes back to what we were talking about with Ben Herbert and his building this foundation of this football team in the offseason, and the success they had at Wisconsin in the fourth quarter and late in the season in November. That's what's left to do here at Arkansas is build that depth and be able to compete for 4 quarters at the end of the season when your body's tired.
David Mitchell, the sophomore running back, is down, but good to see him quickly back to his feet. And a guy who's at his 3rd position after coming in as a quarterback, playing wide receiver, will come right back to Fayetteville.
SEC Network Spring Football is brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Welcome back to Razorback Stadium. We've got 8 minutes and counting left here in the fourth quarter. First teamers on offense, and we've got Casey Smith on the sidelines, Clint Sterner down on the field right next to Coach Bielema to tell us what he sees here down the stretch.
Again, down here in the live action with Coach Bielema. Coach, fourth quarter, 21-32 game. Looks like you got your starting offense still in there. What's that for?
You know what? I wanted to give him one more series. Kind of trying to play a little up-tempo with Rafe. You know, we want to try to give him the ones have a chance to play with Rafe as number 2 quarterback as well.
You talk about number 2 quarterback there. I mean, how important is that to a team? Often goes unknown and untalked about. That's important, right?
Huge. And to give him the continuity with good players. A lot of times when the number 2 quarterback gets in, he's got the number 2 line, number 2 wideouts. He's playing with their best personnel. Then comes Dominic Reed. Give him a chance to compete at the highest level. Although you look like you can throw a strike still. I was pretty impressed.
Coach, I can still go. That's cold turkey. That's out of the kitchen now.
I was betting you were going to wear that jersey the rest of the game. And down on Dixon tonight, so I was wrong.
I've outgrown that. A couple years ago, I'd have been all for that one.
It was funny. Lucas came in and requested some icy hot because he wanted to get that hamstring loose.
He'll be talking about that for 2 weeks.
Austin Cantrell, the redshirt freshman from Roland, Oklahoma, makes the catch.
Austin Cantrell, he's the guy that's built the right way to fill Sprinkle 2015 shoes. Is that a guy that you hope has the ability to step up over the next few months?
I think Austin, he actually weighs 255, so he's got a good size. He's kind of deceptive in the way he looks. But actually 11, Will Gregg weighs more than him. But both of those guys have really done a nice job during the winter, getting their bodies right. It's just the mentality, you know, the different packages that we got, the route concepts, all the things they got to know in the run game. All those things are things that they really got to get better at.
What is it about that position, Coach? As I look at these guys, I followed all of them for a few years. It seems like they're pretty good at throwing the football. I mean, catching the football. I'm sorry. Hopefully they can't throw it. Catching the football. Is it the blocking inside the box in those trenches that you're worried about?
The biggest thing is not only the blocking, but who to block. As they've evolved here, you know, if we can combine all 3 into 1, we might have a heck of a deal. But another guy, Jack Krause, isn't out here today, who I think the world of, who's going to really be able to help us in the fall. But we got to get 2 of those young guys to really come along, and then obviously for years ahead, they're going to have to be in our plans as well.
Is it good for this program right now to have your top, probably your top 2 backs out right now, and for all intents and purposes, and get that 3rd, 4th, and 5th guys some reps?
It is, and then also, I'd be holding my breath right now if they're playing. You know, I mean, you're in a, fourth quarter, 5 minutes left in spring ball. you like to have Denzel. He's probably our 4th or 5th running back. He's an incredible kid, great for us on special teams. But if it was Cody or one of the, especially Raleigh, you'd be holding your breath every snap. What do we got here?
Now that'll go down as a sack for Rafe Peavy.
Mike, that's obviously a play that ends up being a sack, but I think you, as a coach watches film, there was pretty good space around the quarterback. There was actually a lane for him to run through. So while the route concept didn't pan out the way that they would like to have, it's still a positive play. There's still a lot of positive in that play right there. I can't stress enough the space around the quarterback and how important that is to that guy playing efficiently and making the everyday plays, not the big plays, but the everyday plays, the plays at 3, 4, 5 yard completions.
With the turnover on this offensive line this year, I think a lot of people would be interested to know from Coach Bielema, who's the leader of the offensive line at this point?
Yeah, Coach, you're talking about this young front, a lot of guys getting replaced up front. There has to be a leader in that meeting room during the meetings. Who is that guy?
Without a doubt, Frank Ragnow and Dan Skipper. I think those are the guys. Sprinkle's kind of got the tight end group. Cody Walker has the quarterbacks. Austin will handle the, Skip will handle the, Sprinkle will handle the tight ends. And then we got 4 senior wide receivers. So I think Skip and Frank are really doing a nice job of trying to bring those young O-line around. Also with a new coach, you know, that's another element that was added this spring.
Yeah, talk a little bit about Kurt Anderson. I mean, he's been I know you've talked at length about him, but you've been through a spring with him now. Kind of look in your rearview mirror and tell me a little bit about what you've experienced.
You know, I felt when Sam left, we really needed to bring in someone that had great technical skills background. I wanted to go to the NFL. Those guys have a certain level of player that it can't really develop them anymore. You just got to get great at technique. And I researched every assistant O-line and O-line coach, went after Kurt with his background in the college game. He was itching to get back into it. It's been a marriage made in heaven. Great recruiter. The kids have bought in. He's got a lot of work to do, but we got a lot of time to do it.
You got it.
He's young, relatively speaking, 37 years old, who played at Michigan, was an offensive line coach for the Buffalo Bills. One of 2 coaches who had to be replaced this year on the offensive side. Sam Pittman went to go coach the offensive line at Georgia, and then Jamal Singleton went to be the running back coach of the Colts. So replaced by Kurt Anderson on the line, and Reggie Mitchell, the former recruiting and running backs coach at Kansas, coming in here this year. Duop Mitchell, who was down on his back earlier, is showing some tenacity, running for a first down.
You know, you talk about the new coaches that have come in. I think last year, obviously having a year's sample size of watching what Dan Enos brings to the table we're looking at, it's hindsight. But Paul Rhodes coming in this year, I've been to several practices, and I've been absolutely blown away with just his attention to detail. He coaches every single step of every single rep of every single drill, and that's not something that you fake. You either have that in you or you don't. And I don't know how many former head coaches have that ability. So that was definitely a find for Coach Bielema as well.
Well, sure, and you know, it was interesting how that came to be. Paul Rhodes, his son, was on campus here for a track meet, just happened to stop by the football offices. They talked, there was an opening, and it's not often you get a former head coach to come in to basically be in your meeting room and you're just talking and all of a sudden you need a coach. But you get a guy who's a former defensive coordinator at Auburn and Pittsburgh as well to be your secondary coach. That's huge, and the guys have raved about him here in the spring.
Coach, we were talking a little bit about your position coaches that are former head coaches. What are your thoughts on bringing those guys in, and just quickly about how those guys have helped the program?
You know, sitting in the seat I sit in, you learn things that you can only learn by going through it. And, you know, obviously I hired Randy in my first staff, but the things that Dan Enos, Paul Rhodes have brought, they throw little things in my box, but also just working with their position group, you have such a better understanding of the detail that you need on every day. It's been a huge asset for me. I think I'm going to hire a couple more as some analysts for us in the out of season, some guys with a lot of experience as well. To me, if I surround myself with a lot of really good ex-coaches, there's going to be a lot of positives out of it.
Yeah, you're only as good as those you surround yourself with, right?
Oh, it's been unbelievable.
Appreciate you having us, man. Enjoyed the time on the field with you. You bet.
That's how pretty much every conversation with Coach Bielema ends with a whoop pig. And he'll have some more today. There's a 33-yard touchdown pass to Jamario Bell, who's at tight end, switching over from defensive end, because that's probably going to be the most stacked position, offense or defense, for Arkansas this year. What Brett Bielema, Rob Smith, the defensive coordinator, have said in their time here in Fayetteville, with the likes of Dietrich Wise, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Tywan Johnson, Carl Rossler, and the whole rest of the group. That's something they can really be happy about. So double points, 35-32, gives the red team, the backups, the win over the white squad and the starters. Coming up next here on the SEC ESPN Network, we'll have Auburn against 16th ranked Ole Miss on the diamond at Swayze Field in Oxford, Mississippi. So Clint, one last chance here as the Razorbacks try and build that win total for a 4th straight year. Your takeaways today?
The defense, they showed up and showed out. They caused some problems, and again, on a very vanilla day when they were just in base defenses, they were still able to make plays. They're still able to not necessarily sack the quarterback, but flush the quarterback, play around his feet a little bit. And then on the flip side, there were times offensively where this offensive line gave the quarterback room to operate, room to execute. We've talked at length about how important that is. And also in the running game, you had a lot of young backs out there. We didn't see any collisions as they handed the football off. There was plenty of space there as well. So no question about it. It was a good day for the football team, particularly in the trenches where it matters.
A good day for the Razorbacks, and spring football in the SEC officially comes to a close as college football fans start to look towards September. And for the Razorbacks, that's September 3rd with the opener right here in Fayetteville against Louisiana Tech. The new starter, Austin Allen, 13 of 19 through the air as he gets ready to replace his brother Brandon. Well, thanks for joining us here this afternoon. On behalf of our entire crew, Casey Smith on the sidelines, my partner Clint Sterner, and his golden right arm, I'm Mike Cousins, saying thanks for watching. Razorback spring football in the books. Up next, Auburn and Ole Miss college baseball.